Hey guys, welcome to another Lifestyle of Eden podcast. I'm your host, Nick Tognetti, and today we have the same guest that we've been having for this entire seven pillar series, a good friend, great coach, and mentee of mine, Larry Wilson. Larry, glad to have you on again, bro.
Pumped for it. Happy Thursday, everybody. This is another amazing topic to dive into.
Absolutely, man. So today we're going to talk about the fifth pillar, and it's going to be on oxygenation. And so we obviously have these seven pillars, Lifestyle of Eden's seven pillars of disease reversal, prevention, and longevity, all of which I found in the scriptures, and then science just happened to back it up. But this fifth one being oxygenation, man. So I really want to dive deep into this. I actually have gotten hit up by multiple fantastic, well-known coaches about this pillar specifically this week, as well as the autophagy pillar, which is the sixth one, which we'll do another time. However, oxygenation, man, I guess let me give a little bit of insight as to how I even came across this pillar. Like, where did
Mhm.
this even come from? I'm studying the scriptures and I'm asking the Lord how to reverse disease years back and trying to figure all this stuff out. And so I remember, as my business is called Lifestyle of Eden, it was all about, okay, what was the lifestyle that God designed in the Garden of Eden? And it wasn't just about going to the first three chapters of Genesis to find the Garden of Eden, where we actually see Adam and Eve living there, and then they got kicked out in Genesis 3. It's a very slim pickings of insight as to what we can see with the whole Garden of Eden. You actually find the lifestyle of the entire Garden of Eden throughout the whole Bible about how God really wants us to live and what he initially was designing for them when they moved in, whenever they were created in there. And so I remember I just started asking the basic questions like, okay, what were they going to eat? How were they going to eat? How are they going to have sex? What were they going to do for workouts? What were they going to do for bathing? I just started asking these basic freaking questions. I wanted to know genuinely, like, when you woke up in the morning back then, they didn't have skyscrapers, they didn't have these everything we have today. What did that look like? And so I go, okay, let's ask the basic stuff. Like, how are they going to take a bath? Okay, that's how this whole thing happened. I know this is how my thoughts go. This is how my mind works. So I literally asked, okay, Lord, how do they bathe? And I thought, oh, they're going. There's four rivers that we see within coming from the Garden of Eden, and I go, oh, they're just going to jump in a river and bathe up, man. That's how it's going to go down. But then I started thinking to myself, wait a second. There's four seasons that the Bible tells us in Genesis chapter 9, right? We have spring, we have fall, we have winter, we have summer. And I was like, dude, during the summer, I go, it's gonna be warm water.
Yep.
But I said during the winter, bro, that's gonna be freaking cold, bro.
Freezing cold water.
Yeah, so this was literally my thought, like on a practical level, what was this going on? So what's interesting is all of these medicinal concepts, which we're going to dive deeper into how that got me to oxygenation, but everything is seasonal with the Lord. So when people try to push all these different concepts 24/7 and blah, 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 I go, that's just not the way it was created. It was created seasonally. And so there's seasons for more times of fasting than not. There's seasons for ice baths and so forth. But I go, wow, if they were going to bathe once a day or if they were going to bathe once a week, either way, there were going to be seasons where they were going to be going in essentially to an ice bath. An ice bath, by definition, is under 50 degrees.
Yep.
And I can tell some people say, hey, you know what, in certain parts of the Middle East, it doesn't get that cold. Listen, I live in Houston, Texas, and I'm telling you right now, even during the winter, do you know where I ice bath? In my parents' hot tub because it's 45 degrees. It doesn't matter, bro. Even if you don't get snow, your water is getting freaking cold. And
Yep. You hit
so,
the season.
yeah, so I started thinking about, okay, when you go into that, what happens? And that was where this whole domino effect happened. And so, in short, what happens is your vaso system, like we talk about menopause, people having vaso or vasomotor symptoms. Vaso means blood vessels. So it's all about vasodilation or vasoconstriction. So when you go into cold water, what happens if you've never done an ice bath? What happens is number one, your body starts hyperventilating immediately for the first 20 seconds because you're freezing. Your lungs are freezing. So
Pretty
what
brutal.
exactly. And so what happens is all of the blood in your body goes to your core, surrounding your lungs to save your life. So you'll notice when you get into an ice bath, if you stay in there for at least 20 seconds, all of a sudden your breathing will completely calm down back to normal. And it's because all the blood is there. And that's why we actually teach, hey, stay in an ice bath long enough for your breathing to normalize, because now we know all the blood is there where it's becoming oxygen and nutrient rich. Anyway, so it goes there for the audience. All the blood goes there and it becomes filled with oxygen and it becomes filled with nutrients. And your blood vessels dilate or constrict. You have vasoconstriction. All of the blood vessels constrict so that the blood goes there and it stays there. It will not move as long as you're in there in order to keep you warm, you breathing, and to save your life. But as a byproduct of it going there to your core and to your lungs, it gets filled with oxygen, it gets filled with nutrients. Then when you come out, you have vasodilation, where your blood vessels open up, expand rapidly, and all of that oxygen, nutrient-rich blood in the core goes to all of your extremities and saturates every cell with oxygen and nutrients. And so this was what I started studying when I go, okay, what was the purpose of this, that, and the other? And starting to go from there. And so it brought me to this concept of oxygenation. And so before we get deeper into, hey, what does that do for you? Why do you need that? What does that do with mitochondria, disease reversal, fat burning, blah, blah, blah. So that's the prerequisites as to where I came about my fifth pillar, which is oxygenation. So I'll kick it over to you now. What are your thoughts? What have you experienced? Where do you run with this? Anything on your mind?
I mean, ice baths is one way, but there's several ways. I think the biggest thing is to realize is oxygen is a primary nutrient, as you hit on. It's almost more vital than potentially food or water in some cases, just how
Sure,
it powers mitochondria. We think
sure.
that every single cell functions off of oxygen. So when we have chronic low oxygen, we're not going to have very well disease reversal, very well longevity, and all the pillars that we talk about to acquire that.
Well, exactly, 100% right. And I would say how you said it powers every cell. I would go even further. I would say it powers all your mitochondria because within
Yeah.
your cell you have thousands of mitochondria within that cell, right? So you're absolutely right there. And
Mitochondria needs that oxygen.
100%. And there's a
Depends on
saying,
oxygen.
there's a saying in the medical field where oxygen is present, disease is absent, and where oxygen is absent, disease is present. And the reason being, like, disease is really it's pretty simple to understand in like very broken down simplistic terms. Like disease just means number one, all disease is what we call metabolic, which means it has to do with your mitochondria. Every disease on the earth, kidney disease, liver disease, heart disease, all of it has to do with your mitochondria. And mitochondria are the energy sources of your cell. They take your nutrients, they take your food, all of that, they burn it up, but they use oxygen to burn that stuff up. So that's why if you don't have oxygen, you can't burn this stuff up, and therefore you can't produce ATP, you can't produce the energy. And so when you don't produce the energy, the mitochondria in your kidneys, now they're slower, so your kidney function slows down. So then that's what kidney disease is. You look at the EGFR on the blood work and you go, oh, now you're at stage 3 kidney disease. What does that mean? Your filtration is slowing down. What's really slowing down? The mitochondria and the cells that are governing the filtration of those kidneys. So that's what disease is. So when you think about it like that, you go, oh, that's really simple. That just means we need to fix mitochondria. And that's how I started.
With oxygen. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's how I started reversing kidney disease because as many know, I had stage 3 kidney disease. That's literally what I focused on was, hey, let me push autophagy and fix my mitochondria. Let me see if this works. Sure enough, in 8 weeks, I reversed my stage 3 kidney disease. But with that said, like you said, it's about getting the oxygen there so that the mitochondria can really start doing their job. But you had said oxygenating, it's more than just a simplistic concept. We think about, oh, deep breathing will help, but it's one aspect to really saturating your mitochondria. Sometimes you need those extra pushes that we would have seen in just the daily lifestyle of bathing in cold water for a certain season or whatever it is.
Yeah, and honestly, with the breathing aspect, it's probably not the biggest hit to touch on, but at the same time, I think a lot of people do mouth breathe a lot, and I've dug into some research. Nasal breathing helps a lot with oxygenation, and we think about when we sleep, we see people on CPAPs and things like that,
Yeah.
which deliver more oxygen to them, and then all these other problems literally start reversing. Like just the CPAP itself has changed people's lives, but why is that working? It's because of the oxygen aspect.
No, 100%. The CPAPs are actually really big right now.
And they're changing people's lives in a matter of a week. And I think that it's literally just the aspect of the oxygen. It's like you said, it's fueling the mitochondria, it's fueling our cells, and it's allowing these processes to start unraveling.
No, 100, I could not agree more. 100%. This
And
pillar.
that's where I think even I'm not crazy big on like mouth taping, but if people are truly snoring really bad and breathing through their mouth a ton, I think that definitely does affect the oxygen absorption during sleep, which is
No, it 100% does. And you'll notice that bodybuilders or people that have more muscle are the ones with those issues more.
Man, I cut weight just because I started snoring and noticing like my girlfriend almost sounded like I was choking my sleep. And I knew that I was getting less oxygen in my brain and to my cells and everything. I was just like, holy smokes, I got to pull back because if I'm not getting good oxygen during my sleep, that's affecting everything I'm doing, even in terms of building muscle, even in terms of bodybuilding. It affects it all.
Bro, back in the day before I came to the Lord, I that's whenever I was really big in bodybuilding, and I was 240 with like really good abs at 5'9", just a pretty big guy. And I remember I'd be sleeping next to like a girlfriend or something, and or on the plane. This is a really good example. I'm sleeping on the plane, and then all of a sudden I'll just wake up and like nail the person next to me.
Yeah,
And
like just
exactly. And I would do it, and I didn't realize what I was doing back then. But then later, as I've acquired more knowledge, I've realized, oh, wow, I stopped breathing. And then I would jump and freak out and this, that, and the other. And the reality is this, like, if you need a CPAP, use it temporarily. But the reality is your body is telling you, hey, you're too big. And that
Yep.
includes because the muscles of your neck start to collapse. And so the reality is that also means for people in bodybuilding, you're not meant, I don't care what anybody has to say about this, we're not meant to carry the amount of muscle the way that we do in bodybuilding. We're not.
Becomes unhealthy, 100%.
Exactly. It
And I tell
lowers,
every bodybuilder I work with that. So
yeah,
they
people think, oh no, I'm lean, I have less fat. It doesn't matter. You're still not meant to carry that. That's why if you came off all the gear and all the steroids, you drop weight radically. Why? Because you're not meant to carry that much muscle. So once again, it's a root cause approach of it has nothing to do with your diet. You're eating clean, you're doing all these things, but you're taking things that are bringing you up above your genetic ceiling that is actually pushing you to a level of unhealth. And therefore, it's hindering oxygenation. Your breathing is not right. Your sleep is not right. So now you're damaging my pillar of oxygenation and your pillar of sleep because you're not truly hitting longevity REM sleep. But this pillar of oxygenation, I mean, if we could understand that oxygenating your cells and oxygenating your body literally reverses and prevents disease, it is these basic things that I go, dude, wow. Like we're just talking about you know what's funny? All of my pillars except for nutrition, all of my pillars are free of charge.
Yep. That's the beautiful part about it. That's why it's a lifestyle. That is why it's a lifestyle.
And the thing is, I say except for the first pillar, but whether you follow my pillar or not, you're still paying for food.
You
So
got yeah, you got to eat.
you're
Everyone's
you're going to the store to buy something. So what are you going to buy? But I'm like, there, dude, it's all free of charge. And so this is another one that's practical where like for me, there were certain seasons where I actually used to do an ice bath 10 minutes, 5 days a week. Now I'll do it like 3 to 5 minutes. I'm actually working my way back up to 3 to 5 minutes for like once or twice a week. But the thing is, like I said too, it's seasonal. Where one thing I was telling a coach the other day, I was telling him the story about how I came across all this with Adam and Eve.
yeah.
I said, bro, Adam and Eve didn't sit there and think about, oh, the reason it got brought up was because here's a good topic for the audience to hear. He asked me, he goes, hey, Nick, what's your theory on cold therapy, then hot, or hot, then cold? And I had said, okay, let me explain my reasoning why I do it, how I do it. I go, you can't oxygenate and nutrient rich your cells unless the blood first gets oxygen and nutrient rich. And so I said, when does it get nutrient and oxygen rich? It gets rich when you're in cold therapy because you vasoconstrict, it goes to your core, and then you go to hot therapy and you vasodilate and it goes to your cells. So I go, that's my reason. Do I think that if you do it the other way, you're screwed? No, like it doesn't matter. Who cares, bro? Just do it. Who cares? And the reason being was because Adam and Eve were not going into a sauna afterwards into hot therapy, probably. They were just going into the cold, and then naturally you vasodilate after. So it's not really a big deal. Number two, they were not thinking. Adam, I can guarantee you, because the dude was dumb enough to eat the fruit that God said don't eat. So I can guarantee you, he was not smart enough to know, hey, Eve, you want to go oxygenate in the river? Or what are you doing? Like, he didn't care about that, bro. He just cared about, hey, I just need to go rinse off. And he
Mhm.
just happened to go do that and got those benefits. So when people argue about which one, hey, 3 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, I'm like, dude, that's the whole point is that you're doing my 7 pillars as a checklist rather than just as a simplistic lifestyle concept the way Adam and Eve were doing it. And
Which
that's
may
really
have
where it comes.
And it may have to start with a checklist or having those goals. And then
I
that's where
agree.
habits are built. You start with it. You maybe start with tracking calories. You track when you're going to go in the ice bath. you repeatedly do that, it just becomes second nature where like, oh, I'm seeing how much better I feel, how much results I'm getting. So I'm just going to do what's working already. I'm going to do what kept me healthy and got me healthy.
I 100% agree. It starts in my life, especially, it starts with the strict robotic nature of it
We
to
have to. We're creatures of habit.
right, to then become natural. 100%, I agree. But just so that people know, oh, how do I do it? What happens here? This person told me this. Am I doing it wrong? No. Just getting these things into your life, just getting an oxygenation concept. I try to be more mindful, even like when I wake up in the morning, I'll swing my feet off my bed and I'll just sit there for, it won't even be long, bro. It'll be for 30 seconds. And I'll just sit there and I'm just breathing just to calm my mind. Hey, I'm not in any rush. I don't want my cortisol spiking. We're just chilling out. I might roll over because I let my dog sleep with me. I'll roll over and just put my arm around Kaya and just deep breathe with her for 5 minutes while I'm still laying in bed after my alarm goes off. Like being more mindful of just those different things and then applying oxygenation and whatnot. These are such critical concepts. And actually somebody that we did radical work with, a buddy of mine I went to college with, got into a bad car accident, was paralyzed, and he reached out to me and said, hey, I have terrible blood flow. I don't get good blood flow to my phalanges, not only my toes but also my fingers. I can't really move super well, and all these different things. So the doctors in the US told him he wouldn't be able to walk again. He said, I found, he goes, number one, I'm hiring you. So he hired me. And he said, I also found a medical team in Thailand. I'm going to move to Thailand. He makes
Wow.
tons of bread, bro. The dude actually came out with the first, you know how you have Uber Eats, where if
Yeah.
you want Taco Bell, they'll bring it to you. He came up with the Uber e-cigs, where if
Bring like electronic cigarettes.
yeah, the people that smoke e-cigs, he came up with a company where it's him and four others in Seattle. And he is the first Uber e-cig company where, dude, so many people smoke e-cigs now. It's
Oh yeah.
terrible.
It maybe doesn't hit the ethical line, but financially speaking,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
No,
you
I
could
mean,
burn
he
through that.
knows from a health standpoint, I go, dude, this is literally like it's
You're
worse than
fueling the
smoking.
fire.
It's worse than smoking cigarettes. Like I
Yeah.
genuinely, it's
Agreed.
genuinely worse than smoking cigarettes. But I said from that standpoint, I hate it. But I go from a business standpoint, I go, dude, you made a killing. He started making like 150K a month. And I was
Woo.
like, wow, something simple like that. So anyway, he's making 150K, being paralyzed, sitting on his couch all day. And so I'm going to go move to Thailand. I'm going to get deep into the medical stuff that they're doing there. And long story short, bro, within the first 2 months of working with me, he's doing that and running my stuff. And the dude starts walking on a walker again.
Wow.
And so within 2 months, they were saying that he would need 2 years just to be able to stand with a walker. In 2 months, he was walking on a walker. And one of the things that I implemented very heavily into him was I had said, our biggest piece here to healing all of your cells and your mitochondria and your legs and in your fingers, we have to fix your blood flow. And so I said, because he says I have poor blood flow, I'm super inflamed, blah, blah, blah. So I said, so what we're going to be doing is multiple times a week, we're adding in ice baths and hot therapy. That was one of the major triggers that I utilized in this case. And just seeing the results of all of these different things, not only that, you look at the aura rings of a lot of these people. Oh, you know what? Like even Jason, bro. Jason just
Yep.
posted on his story on Instagram the other day. And he was looking at the aura ring, and at the exact time he was in the ice bath, his nervous system went completely parasympathetic and stress completely dropped. And I was just like, bro, it's such an easy tool to do. It's so critical. And what it does to your endorphins, dude, you feel like $1 million when you
Oh, even a cold shower. If you don't have access to the actual ice bath, even a cold shower can be beneficial. Just it,
I
especially
agree.
after you have that deep breathing, then you come back to that parasympathetic state, and then, like you said, man, even that. There's ways to get it done regardless, even if you don't
No,
have access to
for
the thing.
sure. In fact, most people teach, hey, if you don't have all that, just start in a cold shower for 30 seconds.
Mm.
Don't do anything crazy, start for 30 seconds. And you know what's interesting? People won't notice this probably if they're not somebody that keeps on regimen, but like for me who keeps like on diet and stuff, one of the easiest things that I notice on the days that I do it, bro, give me 3 hours and I feel like I could eat 7 foot long Subway sandwiches. I become starving. And the reason being is because how many calories you're having to burn in order to stay warm through thermogenic effects while in that ice bath.
I didn't even think about that. That's interesting. You
Oh,
have
dude.
hunger increases?
Oh, every single time. It
Wow.
does not fail. Every single time. In fact, you can just do research in PubMed literatures on this concept. You know what I mean? Where it'll
Yeah.
release cold shock proteins from the liver, but you're burning radical amounts of calories. What's his name? Gary Brecka. He says it's the best fat burner on the market because how many calories you're burning because your body temperature is having to rise so high in order to keep you warm. And
Mm.
dude, I literally, tangibly, not in my mind, tangibly notice a rapid increase in my hunger on those days. It's insane, bro.
And it's nearly free, just like we were talking about. People spend
100,
tons of bucks
100%.
on fat burners and this and that and the other. That.
100%. And what it does to my nervous system, what it does to inflammation and stuff, like I sleep so good on those days. I don't do it within 2 to 3 hours of sleep. I try to give it like 2 to 3 hours of rest, just like I would a workout or something. But that also brings me to the next thing. Like, I think people get a little too caught up in regard, which there is a science that we'll get into, but I think in general, people get too caught up as to, hey man, don't do it post workout, don't do it pre workout, don't do it. And I'm like,
You're
know,
missing the whole point.
yeah, no, I think people are like, for me, it comes down to convenience as well. So last year, whenever I was doing it 5 days a week, I was doing it every night after I got done with boxing. So when we were getting ready, because we were looking at potentially doing Golden Gloves, whenever we were getting ready for that, 5 days a week, I was just dead in the water during camp. So like 3 hours of training to where right whenever I was done, I'd go into a 10-minute ice bath. Now, granted, that is not actually something people will argue with. What they argue with in the science is that in the short term, they say, hey, when you lift weights, you have a healthy inflammation taking place. You need your muscles to be inflamed. You just tore them down. Inflammation is critical to get nutrients there and repair. And so they say if you go into an ice bath, you blunt that inflammation, which means you can blunt the rebuild process. And then therefore you can blunt how much muscle you put on. And they found in the short term, it did nothing. In the long term, it can make minor shifts into not growing as much muscle. But the thing is, when you're doing what I was doing, where it was like, hey, this was not about building muscle, this was conditioning, boxing, those different types of things, it was actually very beneficial. So I don't really think, but like I said too, for me, the reason I'll do it now too is like I have access to 6 gyms. I have too many gym memberships, but one of them is Lifetime. And
Mhm.
so Lifetime has the ice bath. That's the only reason why I joined it, even though I pay a freaking mortgage or a car note for it. 200 something bucks for a lifetime membership. It's ridiculous. But while I'm there, I'll work out. Let's just say I'm doing back or whatever. I'll jump straight into an ice bath. And I don't care or think about, oh, am I not going to grow, blah, blah. I do it because it's convenient. I'm not about to go home and then come back to Lifetime and jump into an ice bath. You know what I mean? I do encourage people like not to stress out about those things.
I wonder how does it correlate to things like hemoglobin, red blood cell count, MCV, things of that nature, just with oxygenation in the blood.
Hematocrit, all of those different concepts, those raised, generally speaking, because of one of two things on blood work. Number one, we see it raised real high when it comes to TRT. I always tell people lower your TRT. You don't need as much as you think. That will come down if you lower your TRT. But the other one clearly is just inflammation because it starts thickening the blood. And so whenever you start doing that, honestly, I have not done an actual focused study on myself or clients to be able to determine
I
the
think it might be used if we see low hemoglobin, low red blood cell count to help raise that, putting more oxygen in the blood. Could that be possible?
I think it would probably be adaptogenic, where if like an adaptogen, like somebody texted me today, hey, why do you have me on ashwagandha? It's going to make
Mhm.
me tired in the morning. And I said, no, it won't. I said, it's an adaptogen, meaning if your cortisol's high, it's going to bring it down. If it's low, it's going to bring it up. And I think it could probably have some adaptogenic effects where if it's high hematocrit, it might bring it back down. And if it's low, maybe it will bring it back up. I think that's an interesting thing that there may or may not already be studies on that. I don't know. There could be.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking like low red blood cell count could be decreased oxygen to some extent, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It could 100% be raising that. The other thing, whenever there's too much inflammation or whatever, it's going to slow down your circulation with all of these things. I think that there's probably many benefits, whether direct or indirect,
Yeah.
when it
Interesting.
comes
I
to
was
that.
just thinking of that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. But once again, just another pillar that Number one is free, unless you're doing it at Lifetime. It costs you $249 a month because that's how much a freaking membership is. But seriously, the genuine concept is free. Go into your shower, open a cold shower, or if you got a tub that's as big as mine, throw a couple ice cubes in there and do it. I'll tell you, you know what's funny? So when I first started doing ice baths, I used to go to my parents' house in their hot tub because in the winter we would check it and it would be like between like 46 and like 54 degrees,
Yeah.
crazy cold. And we would turn all the jets off. It would just be still water. And going in an ice bath, I always tell people if you can wait 30 seconds, your body will totally numb out and you'll be completely relaxed.
It's really only hard that initial 30 seconds, 100%.
Bro,
You get in a flow,
after that,
once you hit a minute, you could stay 4 minutes if you wanted to. It's
oh,
not,
dude, you can staying 10 minutes is easy after you hit that brink. But the thing that makes it tough, and this is what makes it tough for me at Lifetime, they have the jets running constantly. If the water is moving, your skin will never numb out.
or if you're moving too. I tell you, you want to stay
No,
still.
exactly. That's what
Like that.
100%. And so that's why I prefer places where like they don't have jets or like my parents' hot tub where I can just sit there with no jets and I'm not moving, the water's not moving. If you can do that, it is literally as easy as 1, 2, 3. You stay in there for 40 seconds, you're good, bro. But you go into so like whenever I'm at Lifetime, I'll have to sit crunched over on these stairs where the jets are not because I'm like, please, because what it does is not hitting my body, it'll constantly hit my shins or like my feet. And I'm like, dude, it's miserable.
You just feel the cold hitting you again and again.
The whole freaking time, bro. Every second I'm in that thing, I'm just sitting there like, all of this it's always knives going into my skin. Like, it's crazy.
Now, increasing like a VO2 max or just making sure to ensure body movement or potentially hitting like zone 2 type threshold with cardio, do you think that's going to be beneficial? In my mind, it should help with oxygen as well.
Well, I think 100% it forces you to breathe more.
Yeah, so that's another aspect to touch on is hey, these intertwine here, body movement and continue to move and focusing on giving your body an ability to work on its breathing, to work on more oxygen uptake is another basic to hit, which is free once again.
So notice you literally just said my third pillar with my fifth pillar.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
then sleeps combined with it too. Well, yeah, I mean it's really
yeah.
cool that these all intertwine.
Yeah, my third pillar being bodybuilding. I just told a coach the other day, I said, listen, there is no one pillar that will heal you. There's
Mhm.
no one pillar. And if you do 6 of them and not the 7th, you will not be restored.
Yep.
And this person was talking to me about autophagy and they were taking this drug and this drug. And I said, you cannot over autophagy yourself into healing. Autophagy is one aspect, which is my 6th pillar, which we'll get to another time, is one aspect of healing. And going excess and lowering mTOR and going into autophagy, eventually now you're going to lower the immune system. And I go, the natural forms of autophagy through periods of fasting will always be enough. And the individual said to me, Nick, I think metformin and GLPs push autophagy more than the fasting. And I said, no, you're not hearing me. I'm not telling you it doesn't push more autophagy. What I'm telling you is more is not better. If you want to push more autophagy, bro, I can put you on 15 milligrams a week of rapamycin. I'll push more autophagy.
Drive that immunity down.
Now you're not only lowering mTOR1, you're lowering mTOR2, which has to do with your immune system. So now you're screwing yourself. So more is not always better. That's the whole point, is balance within all of my 7 pillars are critical.
Seasons of it, which is what they did back in the day with Adam and Eve.
Seasons. Dude, the Bible is so wise, bro.
I love it how you open my mind up to that kind of stuff, man. And that's what a beautiful part of this podcast is, just open people's minds up to that, to maybe encourage them to look into it. It really is. It's changed my life and my clients' life so much.
Dude, it's Ecclesiastes 3. Ecclesiastes 3 says there is a time and a season for everything under the sun. And so what it's showing is that there's seasons for fasting. There's seasons where I'm just really seeking the Lord more deeply on like direction. I'm like, hey, I need to spend more time fasting and in prayer than right now. And then there will be a couple months where it's like, hey, I haven't even fasted in 4 months. And then it's like, hey, I need to step back. So there's seasons for all of this. And this is what God intended. This is why he said there's going to be these 4 seasons continually and they will never stop. And then there's a time and a season for everything under the sun. We've got to find the balance of the 7 pillars where it is seasonal within certain concepts and contexts, but all of them have to go together. Trying to go an extreme on working out to lose fat is not going to do it. trying to go which the reality is, even the doctor that wrote Cortisol Connection, he even says, look, dude, if you're working out to lose fat, genuinely, you're not going to get there, one, or you're not going to stay there, two. Because from a mathematical perspective alone, you have to burn 3,500 calories a day, essentially, I'm sorry, a week, to lose 1 pound a week. Like, you have to be in a deficit of 3,500 calories. Look, that's just not going to be practical, because there's going to be a weekend where it's your son's birthday and you eat a little more, or you go to Hawaii and you eat more food. And sure, you could be eating more fruit, but it doesn't matter calorically. It's like, oh, whatever. That's not why we work out. We work out to raise muscle, which raises BMR and basal metabolic rate. We do it to push autophagy. We do it to push higher levels of endorphins and neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, and what that does on anxiety, depression, and cortisol, which if you lower cortisol, now you're going to be more insulin sensitive. Like, it's not the one thing that you're doing it for. It's the cascade of events that's coming as a fruit from all of these healthy pillars of lifestyle.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
So I just think that it's thinking way too skewed. And that's why, oh, it's funny. To this coach that you and I were talking about earlier, I had said, or one of them. So I had told him, I go, there's something that a mentor told me. My first business mentor that I ever had. This dude, he makes,
We've talked about it a few times.
yeah, this dude makes 3 million a month. And everyone thinks he's a scam. And I'm like, I'm telling you firsthand, I have his cell phone number. He's not a scam. He made me $3,000 in 3 days. Like, the first 3 days work. Like, he's not a scam. Let's just cut it straight. But he is a little strong in his approaches. I don't really think that all of his stuff is accurate, but I think his message is very good. And I remember, like, he makes 3 million a month, right? And he always teaches, I do not chase money. I do not chase women. I do not chase this, that, and the other. He goes, I chase self-development through habits. I cleaned up my habits when I was in prison. It's what got me through my 10 years in the penitentiary. And when I came out, I kept those habits, and those habits ended up being worth millions of dollars, and now it makes me millions of dollars. I still do the same habits I did whenever I was in prison. I never changed my habits. All the money falls within the spectrum of my habits. I spend money on the same things I did back then. Back then, I just had less money to spend on it. Now I spend lots of money on those things, but it's the same things I did because my habits never changed. And what he taught me, he said, what you chase runs. And I thought to myself, holy crap, that changed my whole life. And I started thinking, bro, what you chase runs. Every time people are trying to chase all these girls, bro, they never get the girls.
Yep.
Every time people are trying to make more money and chase money, they never get the money. All the people that are obsessively chasing weight loss, they don't drop the weight. What you chase runs. Stop chasing the money. Stop chasing the weight loss. Chase the lifestyle habits that are found within my 7 pillars. And all of those other things are a byproduct of that. And that's what Jesus said in Matthew 6:33. He says, do not chase money, do not chase cars, do not chase clothes, do not chase food. All of these things, the Gentiles seek righteousness in the kingdom of God, and all of these things will be brought to you. Meaning, chase my 7 pillars, because my 7 pillars are the lifestyle of Eden from the scripture. You chase the 7 pillars, all of these other things end up coming to his body. Bro, Jesus literally said it. He basically said, follow Nick's 7 pillars, because my 7 pillars are righteousness, and they are the kingdom of God. It's about building a relationship with the Lord. It's about honoring the community that he desired. It's about eating the food that he said. It's about doing all of the, keeping your stress low and having faith in him and walking and do all of my stuff is literally the scripture. You do these things. But whenever I told this individual, I said, hey, what you chase runs. He messaged me the next day. And he said, dude, I'm still pondering upon that thought, what you chase runs. He goes, that is literally insane. And I'm like, bro, the simple wisdom is insane.
Yeah, it just causes so much reflection and looking and connecting the dots. Man, that's insane.
Yeah, dude. My first business mentor taught me that. He changed my life with that one, bro. I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't even chase money or nothing like that no more. I chase my message, and I chase the learning that I do, and I share that knowledge, and all of a sudden a man's gift makes room for him. All these people get brought to me, and this, that, and the other. It's just the way it is. Even the MDs now that are getting brought to me, like I had that other MD that I had a conversation with this morning, like the fact that he even considered to come and talk to me, who has no board certification, like I have no big degrees on all this stuff. Like the fact that he did that, he literally, but his opening line when he got on the podcast, hey Nick, or when he got on the podcast, when he got on the call was, hey Nick, I've been listening to your podcast. And I was like, oh, he goes, there's stuff that you're saying on there that is very interesting. And he told my dad, he goes, figure out a way for us to be able to talk further. And
That's so
he actually asked me to send him one of my methylation protocols. He goes, I'm noticing that I'm not able to lower some of the homocysteine of some of these patients I'm working with. And I told him why. And he goes, that's crazy. He goes, you send me these protocols. And I was like, yeah, sure. So you just start seeing gifts open up doors for a man, but it comes only from seeking the Lord. That's the only place that we're really going to find where are our true giftings and the things that we need to really tap into.
it all starts with habits, man. This is gold. That right there is gold.
Oh man, absolutely, bro. Dude, this is good. I think that this is another practical lifestyle concept for people to really understand, to think about, to start adding to their lifestyle habits and change a little bit of perspective and to really reverse disease, prevent disease, all of those different things. And just simply to raise sex drive, endorphins. We talk about blood flow. What do you need to get an erection? You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
need blood flow, bro. Like we're talking about not being inappropriate, just being very scientifically accurate to have any type of vaginal activity. Like people always say, hey, I have vaginal dryness. What is it? It's a lack of blood flow, bro. Like you need these different things in order to function in all aspects of life. Drop the
These same
Viagra.
things will help fertility as well too.
It'll help fertility. I'm like, drop the Viagra, bro. I'll give you blood flow another way. I got you. Don't worry. Give me some horny goat weed. You can take a few hundred mgs of that and an ice bath, bro. I'll be ready. You know what I mean? But no, dude, this is good stuff. I love it. I know the audience is really loving it because I've been getting a lot of messages about the 7 pillars, especially from coaches actually. But no, dude, this is good. And always, man, it's a pleasure to have you because the reason I love having you on here, Larry, is because, dude, you are like so passionately sold on the 7 pillars, bro.
They work, man. And you look at your life, once again, the stuff you're preaching and some of the stuff I've added to, it is just so applicable to your life. And a lot of it is free. And it truly is just your habits. And it starts with tracking some of this and get on a regimen. But once you build these habits up and you connect them to the lifestyle things, man, you can look at somebody's blood work and connect the dots and just have an open conversation, diving through their lifestyle. And it opens up all these doors. It makes so much clearer sense. And once again, we dive into all these biohacking tools and this, that, and the other, but it's very clear what got you in that spot and what will fix you.
Dude, I couldn't agree more, bro.
And then help with everything else, right? Your relationship, your finances. Like when you have a good community and you're with good people, you start networking, the net worth equals the network, all that type of stuff. It all funnels into that. It's beyond just health. It's a lifestyle that agrees with abundance and gives you abundance of life.
No, absolutely. You brought up the finances. What's interesting, you know what's funny? I actually said about 3 years ago, this was back, let's see, I got divorced in 2022. I ended up having 2 negative bank accounts. I was so broke, Larry. I had a bag of lentils. I was living in Iowa on the farm. I had a bag of lentils in the cupboard.
Beans and rice diet.
Bro, I had literally one bag of lentils in there, and I called my brother because I was finally at a low point. I started fasting because I had no food to eat. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go days and just fast and whatever. And I called my brother and I said, dude, I don't have any money. And I said, but I need you to help me out for a little bit. But I'm telling you right now, the Lord's leading me back into the health industry. And I said, I'm going to start making money through it. Because I was out of it for 5 years. I just studied it, but I was out from a professional standpoint. I was just in full-time ministry. I
Yeah.
told him in 2020, back then, I said, hey, I'm going to dive back into it. 2023, I'll start a practice up. I'm telling you, it's going to explode. I'm telling you, I'll make it work. And I said, but I have no money right now and I just need help. So he said, okay. So every week, my nephews came out. Actually, my nephews flew out to Iowa. They were living with me for a month. So my brother had said, hey, I put money for their credit card. Just use their card for groceries. Whenever you go to the store, just do your thing, whatever you need to get. I said, okay. But I said, I have one problem. They go, what? I had a Challenger at the time. I said, I have no, he goes, I'll give you money for gas too. I said, I appreciate that. But bro, I have no gas in my car. I can't even get to the gas station. But dude, I had to have somebody bring me a gas can just to put gas in my car so that the money my brother was giving me could pay for gas at the gas station to put in. I was at the lowest of all low points, bro. This was less than 2 years ago. Keep in mind, when this happened, this conversation with my brother and my 2 nephews were staying with me, this was July of 2023. That's less than 2 years ago, bro. Like, we're not even.
Can you relate that to where some of the pillars were off? Can you look at your life back then and what got you to the point of being broke necessarily?
This was definitely the Lord's hand. The thing is that I was literally at the time, I was full-time ministry. And because I was going through a divorce, I had to step back from ministry, which was where my salary came from. And my ex-wife was a big time breadwinner at the time. And so because I'd started my ministry from scratch. So we both knew, hey, ministry is not going to bring a lot of money just yet. So we're depending on your job right now. But then when we separated, it was like, okay, I now don't have money coming in from ministry because I have to step back as a pastor from preaching right now, all this going on. And I don't have any income from her. So I was just like, I'm screwed. I'm in a tough spot. You know what I'm saying? And so all that stuff happened. But anyway, the reason all this got brought up was I remember saying back then, I said, somebody asked me, what would you do if you got $1 million? And I said, the same thing I do today. And they go, what do you mean? I go, I would do nothing different. I go, the only thing that would be different is I would be eating all organic food. All my food would be bought from Sprouts. I would be cooking that food in a nicer kitchen, and I would be studying Torah in a nicer office. And I go, that's it. My habits would stay the same. I would still be waking up at 4 a.m. I would still be working out. I would still be eating. My habits would never change. What's funny is I am where I am. I do what I do. God's allowed me to make what I make. And guess what? I still wake up at the same time every day. I eat all food, fresh, organic, grass fed, this and the other. I cook now just in a nicer kitchen. And then I study at a nicer desk and in a nicer office and this, that, and the other. My lifestyle is the same. And so the reason I say that is when your habits are a certain way, you will govern finances so much differently. Because if I was the same person I was 10 years ago before I came to the Lord, like back then, whenever I was making a lot of money at 21, bro, I was spending $1,000 a week at the Galleria buying new watches. I was a nice watch collector. I was paying for sections at the club every single weekend. And bro, my best friend Cassie, me and her still laugh about it, like making fun of me at this point now because of what I used to do. I used to stand on top of the sections making it rain with dollar bills, bro. I just had all this money that I was so prideful with, and my habits were not there. But now my habits and my relationship with the Lord controls and dictates my life in such a way where I don't go to the club and do that because I don't live that type of lifestyle because I'm in the Lord now. But number two, because I wake up at 4 a.m. and I can't be out till 3 a.m. partying, getting drunk and doing drugs and all that kind of crap. So my relationship with the Lord and your habits, if you have those two things, you will govern everything else properly. Like your finances will operate right. Like you'll do all of these different things. And so I'm just like, for me, habits are the habitual construct that provision has to abide in for you to be able to get the provision. Like the only reason God gives me provision is because of the habits and boundaries that I have. Because whether I have $1 or $1 million, that money is going to be spent the same way within the boundaries of that habitual construct.
Yep,
So
and you can just reinvest into the habits you're already doing instead of a
that's
cold
all I
tub,
do,
buy a cold tub. You just upgrade the habits you're already doing.
bro.
Exactly.
That's all I do. Like to this day,
And
bro.
it's hard. That's a lot harder than we're making it sound, man. Like as soon as I started making decent money in real estate before this, I bought a house, I bought a new car, and it's really easy to get caught up with that with society.
Dude, 100%. You want to know something funny? Today, I don't even own a watch, bro. I have no watches.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I was a watch collector back then. But I'm like, bro, I just don't care about it. Like, those are things I just genuinely don't. You know what's funny? I don't even own one suit.
Yeah.
I don't own
Look at
one
that,
suit,
bro.
bro. I'm like, nothing against them. Like, honestly, I'll probably end up getting a couple just because there are certain occasions where that's probably necessary for. But I was like, I don't care because I'm not here to impress nobody. Suits are not comfortable to me.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's
Especially
not
bigger
really what I
jobs.
want to wear. Like, I just don't care. So I buy things that I care about. Like me, I have a lot of shoes, but there's shoes that like match my jerseys and my outfits, like my comfortable gym outfits, things like that. I'm like, I just don't care about impressing other things. But so that takes time to be able to mature in. But there's also this book called The Psychology of Money, and it's a really good book, bro.
I might have to get it. Yeah.
Dude, he explains how like we talk about money in a way that is all about intellect and numbers, but we don't realize money has nothing to do with numbers. You don't spend money based on numbers. Money is emotional. You spend money based on pride or fear. One or the other. That's how you spend money. If you were somebody who is super prideful or this, that, and the other, you spend money like you don't do it based on numbers. Numbers do not, hey, Nick, you have a 34% chance of doing that. I don't care about the numbers. I care about what is my experience and my emotion with that situation. For the people who lived during the recession in 2008 and had a lot of money in the stock market, I guarantee you those people right now are way more hesitant to put money back in the stock market. But the people like my big brother who never dealt with that and has only made tons of money through the stock market, he has no fear about that because knowing about the situation and living through it and having the emotional trauma from it are totally different things. And so that's what the book Psychology of Money, it's really deep on that and going big into that. It teaches you a lot about yourself. But the only reason I even bring this up is because, yeah, autophagy, or not autophagy, oxygenation and all these things, these are habits that if you have these habits in line, they're going to help you how you're going to steward your money and go do all these other things. And then whenever you have these habits, you can be entrusted by the Lord with all of these other resources because your habits are either what is going to be a blessing and help teach people or it's not. So if you give me money, all you're doing is giving me a greater authority and platform to teach the lifestyle that I'm already living. So if I have the habits that would be a blessing to others, God's going to give me the money to be able to scream that lifestyle on a greater platform because it's going to help people. But if it's just going to be used to hurt people and be prideful and this, that, and the other, I don't have the habits to be a blessing. So that's
I
why
think you can look, I was gonna say, I think you can really look at somebody's habits and see what their finances are probably, see what their health is probably like in some aspects like that before even looking into the deeper issues.
Bro, 100%, dude. The habits they're absolutely everything, dude. I'm like so big on my habits. Like, even if business is slowing down or things are going wrong, like, the one thing I can control that'll keep me going is my habits. Like, am I still going to wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow? Am I still going to eat right? Am I still going to train? Am I still going to get to bed on time? Am I still going to read the scripture every morning? Like, my habits, they're the only thing that keeps me anchored. And I think the difference between people that can emotionally stay stable through growing pains and entrepreneurship and all of that type of stuff. Divorce, like, bro, the only thing that got me through my divorce was two things. It was literally my relationship with the Lord, and it was my habits. I
Yeah.
doubled down on my habits during my divorce. I was up at 4 a.m. every day. I got into the best shape of my life in the last 10 years whenever I was going through my divorce because I was like, you know what? I'm just crunching down on habits, bro. It was all that got me through it.
Self-development. Self-development. Yep. Yep.
100%, dude. Dude, this is great, man. I think, like I said, I think this has been a really good one for the audience and everything. Really glad to have you, man. So look forward to having you for the next one on autophagy. So we'll get deep onto that one on the sixth pillar. But this is my fifth pillar of disease reversal, prevention, and longevity, oxygenation. To everybody listening, please stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you, guys.